Okay.
Where am I from?
Brooklyn. I kind of just guessed that, but I feel like I felt the vibe.
You're right.
And you're from LES, right?
Mm-hmm.
I read that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Lower East Side. I feel like we don't really hear many people representing the Lower East Side.
I
so
don't think so.
Here I am.
I've never really like, everybody hangs out in LES, but I've never really heard of anybody like living or coming from LES.
True life.
Mm-hmm.
What's your like
Yeah.
background?
My mom's Irish and my dad is Dominican and Haitian.
Oh, you well and diverse, honey. Got everything.
Got a little spice, a little bit of everything.
How was it like growing up in LES?
It was interesting. I think it definitely shaped who I am, you know, just my environment. It's definitely changed a lot. Like, I think when people think of the LES now, it's like, you know, gentrified. It's a whole different vibe. But when I was growing up, it was very, very cultured and, you know.
Was it gritty at all?
Yo, are we starting right now?
I mean, yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's not officially started, but I like having like regular
Okay,
like
all right,
conversations leading up to
I
stuff.
was like,
I was
here
here
for
for it.
an
Just
intro.
jump right back
Like
in.
she's giving like polished answers. I was like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, it was a little gritty. I mean, it depends where you're at. You know what I'm saying? Like it's I don't know.
What about
LES is
where,
like
what about you? Like where you're from?
I think it's just very artistic and very diverse. It's definitely like it brings the whole melting pot term of New York City. I feel like that's just the LES right there. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit of everybody. Everyone has a story coming from there. So
Is that where you went to school?
mm-hmm.
You went to school in LES?
Born
too?
and raised LES.
Everything.
Yep.
I really like it. I don't know why. To me, I guess because I just never really experienced LES until I got older, when I guess you can say the whole gentrification happened and they started having those restaurants and everybody started partying down there. I just never really imagined it to be like somewhere where people actually grew up.
No, it's
That
so
sounds
crazy.
crazy, but like,
When I think of New York City and like the downtown scene, or whenever they're like, oh, we want to capture like the Soho kids, it's really the LES scene. Like that's where everybody's really at late at night.
Yeah.
But you're right. I can't think of nobody who's like, it's just all like transplant. It's like this, like a meeting location. Like, oh, you're from Brooklyn, you're from
Yeah.
Queens, you're from another part of Manhattan, and you all just come kicking in the LES.
I
You don't think of it as like a
agree.
residential spot.
Well, here you go. You know who's actually from the LES too? Rosario Dawson, I believe.
Really?
Yep.
Avenue B. Yeah.
Yep. That's how she got cast
So-
for kids, I think, because
Yeah.
she was actually like from over there.
that's what's up.
Fun fact,
You know,
guys.
fun fact for
And I
today.
think Louis Guzman's, also from LES. I think.
I'm not sure.
You know who Louis Guzman is?
No.
If you've seen him, he's like the Puerto Rican actor in every
Oh, okay.
movie. He's like a husky dude. You've seen him.
I mean, yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of the same Puerto Rican actors in like most movies.
I'm about to pull it
So I
up.
feel like I would know. Well, y'all, it is, I'm very happy to be here with y'all today. It is the first episode of season 3 of What's a 9 to 5. I have my lovely co-host, Busy Rivera, and my lovely guest, DJ Saige, which we now know is from the LES, representing for the LES and teaching me some new things today.
That's right.
So we know that DJ Saige, obviously starting with DJ, is a DJ. Where did would you say that coming from the LES shaped your like love for music and wanting to be a DJ?
I think that's just natural where your environment kind of, you know, impacts who you are, you know, but growing up, I think, yeah, definitely like the music aspect because, you know, just from walking down Avenue B, like hearing all different types of music. But I think the main thing is just like my mom really instilling me into programs and after school and, you know, just like the arts. I think that's definitely what shaped my interest in music.
That's what's up.
So you think that the after school programs, because you always hear a lot of people saying like, I want to get back to the community and open up this type of, you know, after school program or whatever for the kids. But I feel like I don't really hear a lot of people that say they actually reap the benefits of those programs and actually participated. You think that that was like a big reason of what got you into this career?
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's crazy because recently I've been working with the Lower East Side Girls Club, and it was definitely a full circle moment for me being there because I saw a lot of myself in those girls. Like, you know, when you come from like a single parent home and, you know, your environment is a little dangerous to say the least, or, you know, just not the safest place for you to be hanging out in, when you're pushed to be inside of like after school programs or you find an interest in something, I definitely think that shapes, you know, your interest for the future. At least for me, that was like my personal experience. But like even when I see people, you know, young kids that play ball and stuff like that, I feel like there's no difference. Like you find your passion, you find your love, you kind of just nurture that, you know.
I could say the same thing because I went to a lot of youth enrichment programs growing up. And one of them is our Children's Foundation, which is currently still open, thank the Lord. And the reason why I appreciated that and I feel like it shaped me into becoming a creative person as I grew older is because of all the types of activities that they offered kids. And it was only for, it was just a diverse, you know, just kids from the hood that had a place to go after school. They had tutors, they had martial art classes, they had, I learned how to write numbers in Chinese. I learned how to play the African drums. They had fencing. So it's like all those different types
Damn,
of...
y'all are cultured. Y'all was some cultured little kids.
But I'm telling you, it's like it comes from those type of programs that people put in these type of people put in these neighborhoods to kind of push forward the, you know, just how kids mentally develop and the skills that they can learn. And I think that that's the reason why I feel like when I get up, like that's something I definitely want to do. I want to give back to my community because if it wasn't for that, then I don't really know, like,
we want to be at the What's 9 to 5 podcast.
Yeah, like
right
I don't
now.
really know what I would be like. Because even that, going into high school, I went to something else called the Harlem Children's Zone. And it was an after-school program when I was in high school. So I went to something when I was young, like during like my grade school days. And I went to something as I got older. So I also feel like as I got older, I went into the high school program. And they did something like writer's block, where I used to like fake write little raps and stuff. And we had also a lot of other like creative programs. And I just really appreciate things like that. And me hearing you and, you know, how that shaped you into, like, your love for wanting to do what you do now. It's just really amazing to see that there's actually, like, other people that can resonate with that. And, in turn, want to give back and do that again when they get to a place that they can do that at, you know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, my neighborhood was very, like, artistic and expressive and, like...
That's what LES is all about. It's, like, murals everywhere and parties and music. And
I was more interested in doing art and music as a kid than, like, being in classes, to be honest. Like, I used to fight with my mom to try to, like, really be focused in that because I was such a creative child of just, like, yo.
So you knew early on that this is how you wanted to, like, put your focus and your energy, that you were like, yo, I'm gonna be in the arts. Like,
yeah, 1000%. I didn't know how I was gonna do it, but I just knew that like that was for me and that's what I had to hone in on. You know, I wasn't like a studious child or anything like that.
Word. It's interesting to hear you say that because for me growing up, I knew early on that I had no creative talent. So I was like, yo, I need to figure out how to make it without having any sort of creative outlet.
I feel like we all have a creative side though.
Yeah. I guess mine just maybe wasn't as clear early on. Now I feel like it is much more clear, but it's interesting to hear that like at such an early age you were locked in. Like, yeah, for sure.
I think that I'm surprised that you weren't. So I mean, I know I had a whole interview with Busy, but now that you're mentioning that, I'm kind of thinking like, well. I mean, no, you said that it came from just like you in high school, just like always being busy, and it just came. It just came naturally to you, right?
What creativity?
Just being creative.
No.
No.
No, I don't find myself to. I mean, I say everybody that I work with is gonna be like, oh, like what? We've been hoodwinked. I don't find myself to be particularly creative. I actually find that like my actual skill set is like in managing people, and bringing out the best in people. Like, oh, okay, this is what you're really good at. This is what you're really good at. Like, I'm gonna help get that out of you, and we're gonna collaborate together and put together this big product. But I can't draw. graphic design. I can't make beats.
I mean, you're literally a creative director.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it doesn't for you to be.
It's very difficult to explain, man.
But
You
I was
guys,
gonna say-
listen.
I get it though. I
It's
feel
a
you.
farce. Like, you guys are gonna expose me. They'll be like, Busy can't do shit. Like, why are we paying him? Like,
No, but I feel like even though it's not something that's like you literally like have to paint or something, like your gift could also be like being able to distinguish like what works, what doesn't work. That's still a creative job.
Yeah.
The best way I could describe it is like my superpower is knowing how to use other people's superpowers.
Right. You ain't Picasso, but you.
yeah, but it's like, yo, I could help you become Picasso. And if we put that with this
Right.
person over here who knows how to do this, like, it's gonna be fine.
That's a talent though. Listen, we all creatives, man.
I'm sorry. I just got distracted. So how long have you been at it?
At DJ,
Yeah.
about almost 6 years.
Sage been outside for a minute, man.
We've been outside, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
You know what I find interesting when it comes to like starting something? It's like it's one thing for you to just be like, all right, cool, like I want to be a DJ. Now, what type of steps do you take to really like get people to take you serious? Because a lot of people can be self-proclaimed this, that, and the third, but in order for you to be taken serious in your craft, you have to do certain things. Like what was your process like?
I think it's a big part of like who you're around, you know, and what you see and what you feel like is your goal. Because it's very easy to get distracted about like what other people are doing and like that extra noise. So for me, I think it was just being around the OGs and also being a woman around so many men and just feeling like you're going to respect me for my craft and not because of what I look like. Because when I first started, like, I have the tomboy style, but before I was like, nah, like, don't look at me. Like, I really DJ. I really want to be successful. Like, that was how I went in. So I just had that mentality. And I also think I was just around good people that weren't trying to take advantage in that way and just, like, understood that I was trying to accomplish something.
Who
you
were
know?
some of your OGs? Because I know you have some really like valid, solid people around you.
Yes.
And I feel like you're being a little shy by like your pedigree, who you came up around, and like who are the people who put you on the game.
Well, when I first started, I was around Funk Flex. And at the time, I think just being so young and kind of naive to the game, I was just like observing. Like, that's how I am. I just watch and then I speak, you know? So being around Flex and seeing how he did business was a different type of like experience and understanding to the game, because I saw a lot of things firsthand that I feel like not everyone was allowed to be exposed to. So I feel like that kind of shaped and molded me to have like this hunger and this drive to be like, oh nah, like I want that, you know?
Without
So-
giving up anything private, like tell us like what is some insight that you had, not like any specifics, but like something about how Flex handles business that you looked at and admired. It was like, yo,
I think, you know, paying attention to who's around you, because there's a lot of vultures out here. And there's a lot of people that just want you for one thing or want to use you or want to just, you know, y'all know how it is. Like, the game it's a devilish game to a certain extent. So I think watching how he just played the room was very interesting, because he didn't have to say much, but people kind of just knew when his presence was in the room. I don't know. It was a weird experience, especially being so young and being a female, just watching that game. But I think definitely just the people that were around him. And another thing, I think him not drinking in the club was very interesting to me, because it's so easy. And that's the thing, like, people don't talk about. It's very easy to get wrapped up in that life.
Absolutely.
Of drinking every single weekend. And then before you know it, 5 years went by. You're like, what the hell have I been doing? You know, so to see that every night he was in the club and he's like, you know, like just
every night.
professional. And
Yeah.
people are like, how can you be professional in the club? It's the nightlife. It's sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever the hell. It's like, no, like, you could really be about your business, have a goal, know you coming into the club to get your bread and be out, you know? So I think that type of like, watching that, I was like, ooh, like, I like that.
yeah,
Like,
that's a good one.
That's
for
my
sure.
style. That's something that I want to
yeah, because it's a level of respect too. And, you know, being a woman in the club, it's like, you know, people are going to try it. So if you're under the influence, it's like that gives more of, you know, men out here to try and take advantage.
Get besides themselves.
Yeah.
I
Real
definitely
stuff.
agree with that. So before you got into DJing, what were you doing?
I was waitressing. I was waitressing and I was in college and I kept delivering stuff to Hot 97. And then I saw enough in front and I'm like, nah, I need to be here. Like, it was just weird. I felt like it was too connected and I was already trying to be there. So I was just hustling. I was waitressing. I was in school.
Were you already pursuing DJing though? Like the craft itself?
No. So that all happened when I graduated from BMCC. Shout out to community college. Gay. I wanted to start getting into producing and I started DJing, and that first month, that's when everything kind of rolled out.
Okay.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Would you say that, okay, the aspect of DJing, a lot of people, like, when they go into music, there's so many aspects of music that you could go into. Mm-hmm. You've always just, like, been able to distinguish what you want from jump. Like, all right, well, I'm in this room or I'm in this setting. I think that this is a lane for me to fit in. This is just what I want to try. Have you tried other things in music?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing piano, so that's where that interest for music came. And I was like, I want to be a producer, but I had no idea like how to really tap into that. And I just decided I'm a start DJing and just see where this takes me. I mean, I think it's all connected. And yeah, I don't know.
Is Enough someone who also helped you, like,
yeah,
along the way? Another one of your
big time. It started off with Flex. I was around Flex for like a year and a half, just being in the clubs, watching, kind of being an intern to the game without really even realizing that. And then that's when my relationship with Enough started to come about. When I got to Hot 97, I just started being around him a lot, and just everyone up at the station, just watching and learning.
How did you get your foot in the door to really like actually start working at Hot 97?
I got a job on Street Team. Yeah, so that's.
I'm not.
Now, was that like an entry
I'm
level?
not familiar with Street Team.
Street Team is like
It's like the Goon Squad,
yeah.
right? Like, yo, go put up these flyers, go hand out these tickets.
So we around the whole tri-state area. We're handing out just promotion for the station. Mm-hmm. So we're handing out tickets. We're handing out T-shirts. We're just promoting the station in every borough and just being one-on-one with the people, you know?
Okay.
So in a way, not in a disrespectful way, obviously, but that is probably like the bottom. Like, that's the entry level, right? So now people are like, oh, you're on the radio, but nobody just put you on.
No,
like,
I wasn't even on the radio at that
like,
time. Yeah, it was like groundwork, like hustle, like bottom of the barrel, like just trying to make our way to the top. So yeah, it was definitely like.
That's how you weed out the weak too, right? Because it's like everybody's not built to do that for a year straight.
It's a lot of work, you know. We're definitely the main focus of like the station because we're the one promoting the station. We're the ones one-on-one with the people and like, you know, giving them that experience. So.
Word. Yeah. I love Enough.
Don't sleep on Street Team, man.
I understand that though because I at one point I had interned at a couple different places and I felt like it was a way for me to really gain it allowed me to expand my network just by even being in the building. And I didn't really have a prestigious like role in anything, but the fact that I was able to really sit around people and interact with people, and just natural interaction between people can create lifelong like friendships or connections where it'll just expand so much more.
Right.
Now, what do you think was the move that you made that really put you on the map as a DJ?
I think looking back at just this whole journey, I think every little step I took was just summing up to one big move, you know? I think acknowledging those little things that I did to get to certain goals that I was trying to achieve was like definitely, you know, the biggest impactful thing I think of this whole thing. You know, I don't think there was one thing where I was just like, oh shit. I mean, I don't know, being in the building of Hot for sure, like coming up was like,
but
oh,
even
shit.
Once you're in, it's still like one foot in front of the other. Like, oh, I got this bullshit Street Team schedule. Like, I gotta do it. Like, oh, I got this opportunity. I got to take advantage of it. So I feel you on that because I feel like my journey definitely is the same thing. There was no like turning point. Like,
really, I feel like everybody kind of gets. I've always felt like everybody kind of gets this like. It's not. It might not even be anything major, but it's just like once this one thing happened, you just felt like the blessings or the opportunity just kept rolling in after that. It was consistent, like just like going up type. You know what I mean?
I still feel like I have no idea what I'm
Same.
doing.
No, like 1,000%. I feel like I got to be very transparent about that because it's like, you know, this game is tough. Like, this game is not for the weak. And it's like, you got to really stay strong, mentally strong, and understand what your vision is. You know, I think it's different like with artists, right? So they have that moment where they reach a certain stage or their record goes freaking platinum. Like those are certain moments I would say that it's like, oh shoot, like I made it or I'm making it. Like I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, but for creatives or influencers, you know, it's a very slow build.
I definitely feel like like you said, being transparent about like the no big break. Like I literally feel like I don't know what I'm doing still. Like it's so strange. Like not only at work, but just like in life. And
Really? I mean,
that's dramatic. That's dramatic. I have no idea what I'm doing in life. I know what I'm doing in life. For like my bills are
No, I
paid.
feel
Like
you,
I'm
though.
responsible. But yeah, it's just like you know what it is. So it's funny. I used to work with this other brand back in the day, and we had this T-shirt that said "You're never gonna make it." And the premise of it was that like, whenever you achieve whatever you hope to achieve,
there's always something next.
you never feel like you made it. So like when
Right,
I was
right.
in high school, I just hoped to be in the position that I'm at now, right? Like, oh, I work at a label and I work creatives and I get paid for ideas. And now that I'm here, it's like I haven't made it. Like I still got to do X, Y, Z, and you're always looking around. And it's a gift and a curse, I guess, because on one hand, it helps motivate you to you're looking at your peers. You're like, oh, this person's doing that. Like, word, I got to get on that. But on the other hand, it's like you never really get to enjoy
Right.
when you arrive because once you get there, you're like,
what's
shit,
next?
what's next?
What do I do after this?
It's real. It is. I definitely
Like for you to
relate.
be like, yo, I just want to work at Hot, and then you know,
Then I'm there and I'm like, I'm on street team? Really? Like, this is what we doing? I'm
gotta
bringing
start
a
from
speaker?
here?
Like,
Now, so
Yeah.
you're a part of the Heavy Hitters group. For people that don't know, what does that? What is that? Like, what does that entail? How did that come about?
so the Heavy Hitter crew is a worldwide crew of DJs that have been moving their city. You know, we have DJs in Texas, all over the world, and that crew was started 20 years ago, right? And that came about through my relationship with Enough, because Enough is like the president of Heavy Hitters. So, you know, for me, that was just a stamp and a staple point for me as a DJ to be recognized by such impactful, huge, big names, you know? So that's how that relationship started with Enough. And then, you know, I was like, I want to be a heavy hitter. Like, I'm making noise too. Like, you know, just like being that young kid. And it took a while, but he definitely saw what I was doing. So
that's one thing I love about Enough. So Enough actually played like a huge part in my career as well, just from like giving me looks and time.
Well, damn, Enough. I need to. Hello. No, you want here.
Nah, I love Enough. I text him just like, yo, what's up? I don't even need nothing from you. Like, just checking in.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's great. Like, he's definitely giving me meetings that I wasn't deserving of at the time. Like, hey, can I come up to the station and play some records? He's like, yeah, sure. Like,
Listen, if you a DJ in New York, especially, I'm sure Enough has impacted your journey because he's just that guy. You know, he puts on everybody. Like,
brand partnerships. So I know that first off, being a DJ, because of the simple fact, it's not just being a DJ. You have so many other responsibilities because especially in this day and age, you got to keep yourself relevant. You have to work with other people to, you know, get access to other audiences and stuff like that. So in terms of branding and like doing any partnerships, do you do that yourself or you have a team that really like handles all of that for you?
it has been a long journey. I have went through my fair share of managers. I've come to realize that nobody's going to do the work the way I want them to do it. I haven't come across somebody that's been able to do that. I do have a team that was DJ USA. It's now in-house design. Shout outs to Sherrod. That, you know, Sherrod is another DJ who owns an agency, and he's been pretty much, I would say, the main person in my career that's pushed me to brands and done that type of work. So it's more of a relationship, you know. But as far as like manager and stuff, I do everything. like I'll be sitting at the laptop and like, because it's like if nobody's going to put that time in the way you want them to at the end of the day. And I feel like I have a certain vision of how I want things to be pitched. And sometimes, that can get miscommunicated and there's certain things. So I just prefer to do the work by myself.
I could understand that. The social media aspect is something that's catching me for a loop now that I'm trying to...
You mean being on social media? Or managing your own social media?
Well, my social media in particular is something that's like whatever, but having a brand and trying to manage the social, and managing the social media of a brand is so like, it's low-key to me kind of like tedious. Like I want to hire somebody for it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about, for example, like being a DJ, you have to do like a lot of like, I don't know. Let's just say like you have a partnership with, not let's just say, you actually do. You had a partnership with Monster and then you have to do videos and promote that and then constantly be active on social media so that you can continue to gain traction. I've noticed that over the course of time that just having to do it consistently, especially me growing as just as a woman, period. Sometimes I just don't want to be like on social media and doing anything, but it's like doing what I'm doing. I have to because I have to stay like active. How do you keep yourself like active? Do you ever get like in a funk where you're just like, nah, I don't really...
I mean, I'm in a funk this week, to be honest. And that's why, like, I'm just going to be straight up. Like, I've had quite the rough past 2 weeks. And I've never really taken a break, and I just felt like I need to gather my thoughts, especially like with quarantine. It's like that pressure to keep up. I don't understand it, especially during this time. It's like, if anything, this is the time that you're supposed to hone in on yourself, get your mind right, start to figure out what the next 5 years are looking like. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But yeah, for sure, social media is a full-time job. Like I consider it a job. I started to take my emotion out of it and just be like, you know what? I got to just do this. This is work. Bang. And
it's
that's
just
it.
not fun anymore.
I have my moments where it's fun. You got to make it fun.
I mean, I think I agree because I need to start doing things like the little TikToks and stuff. Like, I don't do any of that. I want to start like doing the
Thankfully,
little...
I don't have to do it. My profession doesn't
require
call for that. Yeah, it's require that. I remember I had to do a TikTok. Like I was on set and they were like, "Hey, make sure we get a TikTok for this video." And then I was like,
I still don't know how to use it.
I had to go to like someone from the entourage. I was like, "Yo, do you know how to use TikTok?" No matter if I'm sorry, I wasn't TikTok. It was Triller.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, "Yo, do you know how to do this?" So thankfully, I don't have to. But what was really, I guess, interesting, or for lack of a better term, is that you said you don't have a manager. You just do it yourself. I feel like so many people reach out to me or other people like me, like, yo, I just need a manager. I just need somebody to help me take it to the next level. But you decided early on, like, I'm going to do it myself. Build it and they will come, as they say. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can get on board, but like, I'm not waiting for nobody to get this going for me.
Yeah. And I also have a lot of relationships that I've built and that have taken time to build that I would consider, they give me manager advice or, I pick and choose from certain people in my circle, but there's not one person that's just handling everything. I feel like just having those relationships are so important that I'm able to even be able to pick up the phone and be like, yo, I'm trying to work with such and such. Like, can you help me?
Word.
So I think that's more important sometimes than that one manager. But also artists are always looking for that because they want their big break without understanding. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But without understanding, like, you got to do the work first. You got to do that groundwork. A manager's not going to just make a miracle happen for you, So
No, I understand that because I remember when we were speaking on the interview that I had with Busy, he was saying like a lot of people were reaching out trying to figure out like, trying to get management, and he's just like, well, what do you have to manage? Like, is there anything that you really have?
It's a real thing, though.
Yeah, like, I need features. It's like, do you have $200,000 for future? Because like, I'm sure I could figure it out, but like,
right, I mean,
do you
money.
have your part? Yeah,
but where's
like,
the money?
Speaking of money, I have a question because you said about paying your dues. When you're coming up as a DJ, right? How do you handle? And you also said, you reach out to people for favors. So I'm sure that people reach out to you for favors. How do you suggest the DJs handle free gigs? How do you decide if a free gig is worth it for the exposure or if it's like, nah, you got to hold your ground?
I feel feel like I'm still here sometimes. Nah, like, honestly, you got to determine if that's going to make sense for you and your brand. You know, there's times that I found myself in, like, trap rooms and, like, in studios and stuff doing these.
This does nothing for me.
It's, like, nothing. And if you feel drained, if it really feels like it's not serving you, then you should not be doing it. I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. If there's someone in the room that you want to meet or you want the attention of a certain artist or whatever, cool, do it. But understand that you're going in there to still achieve some type of goal, you know?
So you think that young DJs coming up should still expect that to maybe have to do that sometimes?
That's
but it
always
needs to
gonna
be
happen.
where
Yeah,
it's part of the game.
Yeah, it's part of the game. People will ask you for anything for free. They'll, like, you know, they're always gonna try it, but you gotta just understand what your worth is and be like, nah, like.
I get tricked into free conversations all the time, and afterwards I was like, I need to send someone an invoice. I've been on the phone with for 90 minutes with this man.
Real thing.
How do you figure out your number? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know their worth. Some people will lowball themselves, like when they're doing a service, even though obviously they're like, all right, well, I'm getting paid, but it's kind of like, well, you know, like what I'm getting paid for, somebody else would do, and they're charging 20 bands. Like, how do you establish your number?
I think that's the one thing where a manager comes into play, because it's hard to put that value on yourself when you're the artist, you're the creative. It's like, well, am I worth that much? Like, you have this battle within your head where it's like, well, if I don't take it, somebody else is going to get it. So let me just put the lowest number. And it's like, no, like, take your time, understand that you're worth X amount. And, you know, sometimes you will have those moments where you're not going to hit that certain number, but that's okay. That's just part of the journey, you know.
To add to that, if I may, this also applies, I think, to like in more corporate settings, like how important communication is. I feel like even myself, for a long time, I thought that it was like illegal to tell somebody what you made, like that you cannot share that information within the company or like within your peers. I don't know why I thought that.
Oh, okay.
I think it was like a
such an
Jedi mind
awkward
trick. It is,
conversation
but like
for
with your
us.
people, it is right. But I think that it's something that needs to be normalized, not in like putting your business out there, but like amongst your friends, because there's no other way to really know what the playing field is, so that you can have those convos like, yo, such and such is doing the same job as me, and they're getting paid, 2x what I'm making. So now I know like it can help you establish a baseline. Otherwise, you're just like always shooting in the dark, and I feel like we just should normalize it a bit more, just talking about
I agree.
money.
1000%.
It's like some top secret shit.
It is. It's like
It's
crates
like,
in a
whoa.
barrel. Like,
Yeah,
why?
like,
What's the
I got
problem?
a group chat. I'm like, yo, my credit score went up 9 points. And
Yeah.
I'm like, screenshot. I'm like, yo, check this shit out. Like, oh, how'd you do it? Yo, I opened up this bullshit credit card. It was $500 limit. Like, I paid it off. Boom, boom, boom. Like,
Listen.
we have to normalize those combos. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I don't know. I just don't. I feel like it comes a lot. The reason why it's such a stigma behind talking about financial situations or like just getting paid and stuff like that. I feel like they always insert their ego into things. So it's just like people are afraid to be like, oh, well, I made this and somebody else probably can, backtrack and be like, oh, well, I made more than you, or, situations like that. And obviously that's like super petty and dumb,
And like,
but
again, I'm
that's
saying you should
very
limit it to
common.
like your friends. Hopefully the friends you have like wouldn't do that. I'm like, oh shit, this is only making
I'm not gonna lie, like I'm a little funny with talking about my finances with people, because I don't like a lot of people know, like I don't mind talking about like, oh, if I'm charging for something or like things that are like like surface conversations.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like, I don't mind my credit score either, because I'm pretty proud of that.
I'm getting there.
But that's something that we should be proud of, that we're
Right.
just talking with each other, because I started to realize, especially within the DJ community, we don't have that education and there's no one speaking about these things. So yeah, when pandemic hit, like a lot of my peers like went into depression and stuff, because it's like, yo, we don't have anything without the clubs, and it's like, well, we haven't been talking about finance and like financial independence
Stability.
and
Oh,
everything.
well, bing,
like,
bing. That sounds like a little program we could start.
no, for real. Like I've been about like preaching about this for like the past 6 months, because I'm like, damn, I hate to see my people like this too. But it's like, yo, we haven't been having these conversations, and like, what's a credit score? Like, I don't know. Tell me. Like,
Saving for a rainy day, trying to
Yep.
figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel like with the whole pandemic hitting, and obviously it's a difficult time for everybody, but creatively not being able to be in that space but being at home, what did you take out from, what have you taken from the pandemic that has helped you and hurt you?
I think this has been the most life-changing year for me personally. I think the one thing I've taken a lot. I've really just been sitting with myself a lot, which has been uncomfortable but necessary, and just understanding like, all right, you really need to think about the next 5 years and what that looks like, because wrapped up in the lifestyle, like I wasn't having those conversations. I wasn't thinking ahead like that. I was just in the moment and like, what's next? And
Day at a
it's like,
time type shit.
yeah, and it's like now I'm like, oh shoot, like I'm trying to own a house soon. Like, you know, these are things that I wasn't grown up, you know, I wasn't taught growing up to be like, maybe you can attain having a home, you know?
Here are the steps. Here's what you need to do. Yeah.
Yes. So my whole mind state has changed, and just like my understanding of like what I've been doing and where I thought it was going to take me, and just like what's to come, you know, if that kind of answers.
Is there anything as a DJ that you feel like you want to accomplish that you feel like is untraditional for DJs to accomplish?
Yeah, there's a lot, but I also think that the game is changing where like I like to kind of take myself out of the DJ box lately, because I feel like there's so many things I want to do. Like I want to do the YouTube channel. I want to put out records and continue to produce music. So I think understanding that DJing is the base, and there's so many different outlets you can attain while we're still remaining in the music world, you know? So that's, for me, that's been the experience.
I think that the pandemic also helped a lot of creatives, especially like in the aspect of having to perform. Like obviously DJs are still performers. Mm-hmm. You have to reinvent yourself, and I feel like that's kind of what's opening up people's eyes. Is just like, all right, well, now that physically we can't even be present, what other outlets can I make? Or what other outlets can I, actually exercise or like work with in order to kind of get some more bread? And I feel like I saw firsthand like what people were doing with like doing the online, doing the live shows, and then, you know, how all the, what do you call those award shows went virtual. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the fact that the pandemic had put us in that place is just like, now even if we ever get back to normal, the game has just changed significantly, that it's just like there's so much more that people could be doing. It's crazy that it takes something like this to think about it, but it's just an eye-opening experience to me personally. And I feel like the pandemic, it was difficult for me because I had to deal with a lot of personal issues going into it. But it really allows you to kind of like be like, all right, well, I can't even be in this box anymore. I got to think out of the box if I'm trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
It literally made everybody like uncomfortable and have to like figure it out. Like, oh shit, like you said, like there's some DJs who are probably, you know, playing huge clubs every night, and they're like, oh, my shit is straight, and they're just taking it day by day, and then this happens. It's like, oh, like,
and that's a huge pay cut.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's just like, damn, well, how the hell I'm gonna do that? Like, what did you?
But now it's kind of like starting from the beginning, you know, which is kind of exciting too, because it's like
everybody's starting from the same place.
We all starting from ground zero, like you know. So now it's about, what do you want? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Can this, what you're doing right now, get you to the next step that you're trying to be at? I think it's a blessing and a curse, you know.
What's the biggest adjustment that you think you had to make professionally?
In pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
The biggest adjustments.
Like something that you were doing before that you're like, I will not be able to, in this new post-COVID era, I have to change X, Y, Z.
You know, I think the clubs was the big thing for me, and I wanted to kind of get out of that scene anyway. So I think I'm fortunate enough to have understood what that nightlife was and how I didn't see myself full-time in there.
So you're already planning an exit strategy.
It's interesting because I really was thinking that the past
the
6
pandemic
months.
Just pushed it on you.
It just forced me to be like, well, now, bitch, like you better figure it out, because it was like, yo, I can't do this forever. And like as a female, it's like, ain't nobody wants to see 40-year-old DJ in the club. Like, you know what I mean? Like realistically, men have a longer time in clubs than women do. So I really was thinking about that. Like, all right, this is fun, but I can't do it forever. So exactly. So I think pandemic just enhanced all of those thoughts and feelings, and it was like, all right, get it together, bitch. Like,
well, with that said, I mean, I will ask, well, what's next?
Listen, oh shit, I'm about to get real cozy. How long we got? What's next? I mean, I just dropped a single not too long ago with Mike Classic and Dre, and it's called Four Seasons. I just want to continue to put out music.
I love my classic.
Where I was about to say my class. I fuck with my class.
Yeah, you guys gotta listen to the record. But yeah, just continuing to put out music. I really want to take off the whole YouTube channel. And I'm getting more into like health and fitness, you know, and just understanding like health is everything, you know.
Absolutely, girl. Health is wealth.
So yeah, just, you know, just doing a lot of self work, I think, is where I'm at right now.
Well, y'all, this is DJ Saige, Season 3, Episode 1, What's the 9 and 5, with my lovely co-host, Busy Rivera. Thank you so much. I really appreciate having you today.
Thank you. This was fun. I was just getting comfortable.
Girl, I could go on for days. These are conversations that I really like having.
Same.
But, you know, crunch time.
Same. Thank you guys for having me.
Ow.